Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, thanks for tuning in. My name is Thomasina and I am a model, among other things, based in New York City, and on my channel I give you the tips, tricks, and inside scoop into the life of a model. I went onto ChatGPT and I asked, what are the most commonly asked questions surrounding becoming a model on YouTube? And there was no surprise that one of the most commonly asked questions is, how much money do models actually make? First of all, why are you pocket watching? I do often get asked how much I get paid as a model, how much do certain jobs pay, etc., etc. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit more insight into the pockets of models. So when understanding how much models actually get paid, you have to understand the ways that models get paid. As models, we have a day rate. A lot of professionals have an hourly rate. Most models have a day rate. Like, I will not show up to set unless you're paying me at least this amount for my day rate. You also have your usage rate. So they'll pay you your day rate, and then on top of that, they'll pay you to use your image and your likeness. So some campaigns will be used for 2 years, some will be used for 6 months, some will be used in perpetuity, which means forever. So you have your base day rate, and then you have your usage rate. You can also be paid on top of that per diem. If you have to travel to another location for this job, sometimes the clients will pay you a per diem rate. So let's say I have to go to Mexico for a shoot and I fly in on Monday and then we're working on Tuesday and then I fly back home on Wednesday. I would get a per diem rate on Monday and Tuesday for also traveling. Sometimes on top of that per diem, you could get a travel rate. So just because you're traveling and that takes time out of your day, you have to, pack a bag, get an Uber to the airport, you have to go through the airport, so they pay you for being willing to travel for a job as well. So again, you get your day rate, your per diem rate, your usage rate. With that being said, let's talk about what types of jobs pay models the most. I'll start off by saying, although the high fashion runway models is what a lot of people think of when they think of modeling, that was my main focus when I started modeling. That is what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a high fashion runway model. But then when I started actually participating in New York Fashion Week, I realized we were getting paid nickels and dimes, if anything at all. The high fashion runway modeling typically does not pay as well as all the other facets of the industry. Unless you're a big name or signed to a really big agency, typically fashion shows don't pay a lot. You'll probably be paid up to like $500, or they'll pay you in like merch. So if you get to keep the garments, or they'll give you like shoes or something, they'll pay you in that, or it'll just be exposure. But once you become a big face name like Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, Kendall Jenner, Naomi Campbell, that's when you get paid the big bucks for fashion shows. Granted, I have a few like mutual friends that are not Naomi Campbell status and Gigi Hadid status, and they do get paid a pretty big chunk for their runway shows, but it just depends on the client. Not many clients are paying that much money for a fashion show for someone that is not like a big face. So if you put someone like me on the runway with Naomi Campbell and Kendall Jenner, they're going to be paid way more than I am, because no one really knows who I am compared to Naomi Campbell and Kendall Jenner. So with that being said, high fashion runway modeling probably pays the least out of all the other facets of the modeling industry. Now, you start getting into your big bucks when you start shooting campaigns and a lot of commercial work. With commercial work, like TV ads, TV commercials, and things like that, you get paid your base rate for the commercial, and then you oftentimes get residuals. So I shot a commercial back in either 2019 or 2020, and I'm still getting paid the residuals from that commercial, and I only had to work 1 day. And so you get your hefty check up front, your day rate, remember your day rate, and then as the commercial continues to air, you get paid residuals. You also have your print commercial advertisements, like your Target ads, your Walmart ads, your Kohl's. Those pay you quite well as well. The base rate for those campaigns are going to be a lot higher, especially if it's an international campaign. So the more the advertisement is spread across the world, the higher the rate. So if I have a campaign that's only going to be shown in the Northeast, it's not going to pay, it won't necessarily pay as much as something that's going to be in, you know, US, Canada, Europe, Australia. So when you have a worldwide global campaign, that's where you're going to start to see more money as well. But the campaigns in general are going to be paying more money. You have your e-com as well, and your e-com is basically what you see when you're shopping online. If you go to H&M or Zara and you want to see what the garments look like on a person and you're swiping on the website, those images is what we call e-com or e-commerce modeling. Those rates are not going to be super high. However, it's the most consistent pay, so it does add up. If you get a consistent e-com client, granted, e-com is not the most fun to shoot because it can kind of get mundane shooting the same clothing over and over and doing the same poses over and over. However, it's super consistent. Some clothing brands are shooting their e-com 2 to 3 times a week. So again, e-com is not paying buku bucks like a campaign. However, it's the most consistent work, and therefore those paychecks add up. Let's dive a little deeper into the actual pay rate. Your pay rate can vary based on how many followers you have nowadays. Granted, 10 years ago when I first started modeling, your follower count was not as relevant. Like, agencies were not asking you, oh, how many followers do you have? But now your follower count does hold weight, and clients and brands are looking at your follower count because they believe the more followers you have, the more marketable you are, because your followers are going to recognize you on their advertisements, and psychology says that they're going to be more willing to shop this brand because they recognize you as a familiar face because they've been following you. Also, your agency can impact your pay rate. Some larger agencies are able to negotiate a little bit better than a smaller, let's say, boutique agency. There have been some instances where I am paid more than my counterparts because my agency was willing to advocate for me and charge a higher rate. Oh, it was just a pigeon on my window. I will say the baseline is at least $1,000 or more for your day rate. Granted, that is just the start, so it goes up depending on what type of job, depending on the client, depending on the usage, depending on if there's travel involved. So that $1,000 pay is just the base rate for the day. So you imagine you work 5 days out of the month, that's at least bare minimum $5,000 for the month. Granted, that's the bare minimum. That's like working 1 day a week. So you find a model that's working 3 days a week, 4 days a week. You get my drift? You can make buku money as a model, but it just depends on how much you're working. Although models can make a lot of money, the downside to being paid as a model is the timeline. So if you guys didn't know, models or this industry operates on a net 90 basis, which basically means clients have up to 3 months to pay a model for a job that they've worked. If you're working a typical 9 to 5, like corporate America, whatever, imagine if you didn't get your paycheck until 3 months after doing whatever job you were hired to do. But thankfully, there is an act called the Fashion Workers Act that is currently making its way through Congress. And if they officially pass the Fashion Workers Act, then we'll be operating on a net 30-day basis, which means the clients will have a month to pay us out, which I still think is too long. I feel like we should be paid either the same day or the next day, but we're not at that point yet. So models really have to be financially savvy to be able to spread their expenses across 3 months, sometimes even longer, to make sure they have enough to live off of. So although you can get paid a lot, who knows when you're going to see that money. There honestly isn't a lot of financial transparency within the modeling industry. And personally, I was raised with the understanding that asking how much someone gets paid for a job is kind of taboo. Like, that's not something that we did in my community. But in other industries and with the rise of TikTok, it's become more commonplace to talk and tell people how much money you're making. I personally don't like it. I still think it's taboo. I feel like it's pocket watching. But I know if you are trying to pursue modeling as a full-time career, having this information can be helpful to you to understand, what you need to do to financially prepare yourself to pursue a career in this industry. I've had people ask me, oh, how much did a particular job pay me? And I'm typically not comfortable answering those kinds of conversations because, like I said, your pay is negotiable. So if my agency negotiated a higher pay rate and you got a lower pay rate, and then you want to go back and argue with the client why you didn't get paid, I'm not going to be responsible for that. I don't even need nobody in my business. I don't need nobody knowing that I got paid more because my agency advocated for me. And I know it sounds like gatekeeping, but I don't want to be the person that they point the finger at, because then that might prevent me from getting paid the same, continuing to get paid a higher rate like further down the line. A lot of models still have part-time jobs. A lot of models still have side hustles. It is just nice to have a backup plan, especially because the modeling industry fluctuates so much. I got signed and then the pandemic hit just a few months after, and a lot of models were not working. So of course they used those transferable skills and they got on TikTok, they got on Instagram, they started building their platforms, they got on YouTube. Then we saw the boom of user-generated content because everyone was able to create these marketing materials and advertisements from home. So as a model, you just have to utilize those transferable skills, maybe pick up a part-time job, maybe pick up a side hustle, and always be improving your skills, always be doing something else. Continue watching my videos because I'm here to help you guys. And if you have any other specific questions that I didn't answer in this video outside of how much I'm making, don't ask me that. I'm not gonna answer. But if you have any other questions about your modeling journey, your modeling career, if you're not happy where you are in your modeling career, if you feel like you are stagnant, my DMs are open. DM me, guys. The people that I work with are out here securing contracts and getting signed and becoming working, booking models. So if you want that to be you, slide in my DMs. Hope you guys found this video helpful, and as always, I will catch you in the next one. Bye!
'Cause I'm not just a pretty girl, I'm more than just a picture. I'm a daughter and a sister.